ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring seas. Sing the song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Now, at this time, please be seated, everybody. I'd like to introduce and thank Jeff Smith, the leader of the Texas Hill Wing Commemorative Air Force, for hosting our event in this great location today. Jeff, would you come up to make some remarks?
Hey everybody. First, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to host this event. The Commemorative Air Force is the basis of the organization is to restore World War II era aircraft to flying service and also honor those who flew them. So the fact that you allowed us to honor the Tuskegee Airmen today, we thank you for that. The thing that makes us special here at the Tex Hill Wing, we're named after Tex Hill, who's one of the Flying Tigers, and we've developed a youth program. And from that youth program, we've turned 6 of the other 75 units into developing a similar program. And what we do with that is we look to make this the centerpiece, this education center that you're standing in, the centerpiece of aviation education and promote interest in youth aviation. So we are right next door typically. This is our education center. And if you're interested in all in preserving World War II aircraft, honoring the men who flew them or worked on them, or you're interested in helping the youth of the local area, please reach out to one of us and join us in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. So we're appreciative of the City of San Antonio's Aviation Department for the efforts they put to all of this. At this time, I'm going to recognize one of my fellow City Council members, Councilman Pelias, to come up and address us.
The reason I jumped at the opportunity to come out and speak with you today is because recently my son, who is a World War II geek, he's so nerdy about World War II, and he insisted we go to New Orleans to the World War II Museum. And we spent a significant amount of time at the exhibit honoring the Tuskegee Airmen. And you know, to this day, he still talks to me about how brave and interesting the history of the Red Tails were, right? And for those of you that don't know, you know, in World War I, we had black pilots who wanted to serve, who wanted to fly military missions, and because of Jim Crow, they were told no. We don't want you. Think about that. Young men who were told no by their own country, and all they wanted to do was defend their country. Then World War II comes along, and the exact same answer is given to them. And it took an act of Congress in 1939 to finally fund training for African Americans so they can become pilots. And the history is heartbreaking too. Because of Jim Crow, they said, let's make it hard. Let's make it even harder. And so they had entry exams and tests that were more difficult than white pilots had to take in order to fly. And these pilots became the most elite fighter pilots because of the misguided Jim Crow laws. What ended up developing was a core of men who were better pilots than any other pilots that flew in World War II. 15,000 sorties, one of the lowest loss records of any Air Corps. We won World War II because of men like that. Men who wanted to fight, despite the fact their country said, "You're not one of us." Men who wanted to fight for decency and for liberty and just to do the right thing, and they risked their own lives to do it. We lost 66 of those airmen as they were flying, sorties, escorting bombers into Germany and Italy. We all stand on the shoulders of those men who gave up their lives. And whenever life is hard and it seems like it's unfair, I am going to remind my son, and I have to remind myself that it's more fair today because men like that stood up. Anyway, thank you for coming, and thank you for doing what you do, the men and women in the Auburn coats. I really appreciate your service and your willingness to make sure nobody ever forgets this story. God bless you. And oh, by the way, my job is to introduce you to one person I admire a lot, right? And he couldn't show up, so Tommy Calvert came. No, I'm kidding. I admire our county commissioner, Tommy Calvert, a lot. And he is next at the microphone. And give him a listen, because every time I listen to him, I learn something. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you very much, Councilman, and very appreciative of your remarks. Thank you very much as well, Councilman Courage. I appreciate your leadership as well today. And thank you, Jesus, as well. And everyone, Colonel Rick Sinkville, thank you for your service and leadership in all of the Tuskegee Airmen Association. Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day is a day that we honor a group that has accomplished acts so significant that they even have an effect on us today and beyond. These men were the first African American pilots in the U.S. military from 1941 to 1949. There were about 995 pilots trained in Tuskegee, in Alabama, and about 14,000 support personnel trained in their specialty around the country. Let's think about the adversity these young men were facing: Jim Crow laws, discriminatory practices, a military that didn't quite yet believe in their capabilities. They were representing their entire race and expected not to succeed. Despite all that, they just wanted to fly. They were willing to defend the nation, not willing to accept them, but believed in America's system of government, and it would offer the best chance for freedom in the future. What can we learn from this determination to stand up under negative circumstances such as these? As Colonel Charles McGee, a Tuskegee Airmen combat pilot, said, "Let excellence be your goal, and don't let negative circumstances be an excuse for not achieving." General Benjamin Davis, the first black commander of the Tuskegee Airmen, is proof that a person can overcome adversity and discrimination by graduating from West Point. These young men signed up with the U.S. Army Air Corps to help reverse a shortage of pilots engaged in World War II. Today, the San Antonio chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, the City of San Antonio Aviation Department, and the Tuskegee Next Foundation have partnered up to make this ceremony and proclamation a reality. Here in San Antonio, we wish to preserve the Tuskegee Airmen legacy by recognizing the historic importance of the men and women who served in the Tuskegee experience. We celebrate this day and acknowledge that legendary lives and the legacy of their lives, and that it breathes within San Antonio, including in the ancestors that have come here today. It is my honor to introduce one of our distinguished guests who has worked tirelessly to bring this dream to fruition. Let's give a very warm welcome to my good friend, Rick Sinkville, who is the president of the Tuskegee Airmen Association of San Antonio. Thank you, Rick, for your service.
Thank you, Tommy. That was a great introduction. I think I wrote it. Anyway, I certainly am very glad and pleased to see that all of you are out here for this. As a chapter, we are one of about 55 chapters across the nation in the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated group. So each one of them is charged with having some sort of commemoration day ceremony. And how it got started basically was the graduation date of the first class at Tuskegee, 2005. So we wanted to kind of emulate that. That means you all have to go through, take a test, and become pilots right now. So why did it all get started? Well, as we said earlier, that it's just kind of a shortage of pilots, number one. And number two, these were the cream of the crop. These guys came, all of them had at least 1 year of college. And a lot of the white pilots came in, some of them straight out of high school. So they wanted to make sure that these guys, these were top-rated fellows that were going to be part of it. But, you know, as he said again, that it was a tough social situation. There was basically a separate Air Force going on. There was the Black Air Force and there was the White Air Force. So if there were pilots, black pilots, you got to have black support personnel. So you have to train these guys. So that's where the 14,000 number comes up. Well, there were lots of folks like that. They're all probably in their 90s and their hundreds if they're still around. And we thank them for the work that they did in coming through. So I'll just make this brief, and this Commissioner Calvert, appreciate you coming in and helping us do this ceremony. Councilman Courage for coming in and working. And please pass on our gratitude to Mayor Nierenberg and all the other council members that were there. And Mr. Schmidt, to loaning us your hangar. Maybe you can loan us one of these airplanes. That would be great. And those talented singing youth. That was fantastic. I think on America's Got Talent or something, that's really good. They were really good. Mr. Sines, Director of Airports, and his staff, including Eric Warner, who was the project officer, and Mr. Jackson, board member of Tuskegee Next Foundation. We were very happy to see you come and join us. So if any of the family members of the original San Antonio Tuskegee Airmen are here in attendance, would please stand at this time. I know we have. Also, if there are other members of the San Antonio chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, please stand right now. And so, yes, you have to do it. These are folks that have put together a lot of what we're doing today, so we're very thankful for that. So now in a minute, you'll get a chance to meet the amazing Lieutenant Colonel Haig, commander of the 99th Flying Training Squadron. It is the successor of the original 99th Pursuit Squadron of the Tuskegee Airmen. So we were lucky to have that here in San Antonio. So in the meantime, as they say, straighten up and fly right. Thank you.
Thank you for setting the tone and the spirit, and thank you for writing my comments too. I appreciate that. My job in elected office is just to write checks to folks. Really, that's what we do. But it is a great honor to welcome the Lieutenant Colonel Haig, who is the 99th Flying Training Squadron commander. As someone who served as a former honorary commander of Randolph and Lackland, We appreciate what you all are doing to keep freedom and democracy alive and expand it. Please, would you welcome Lieutenant Colonel Hay.
I want to thank you all. It's an honor to be here today. We've gotten some incredible history, right? So you know what the Tuskegee Airmen were up to. And I want to share with you what the 99th has been doing for the last 50 years. The legacy is not dead. Once the squadron was deactivated in 1949, it remained dormant until 1988 when it was redesignated as the 99th Flying Training Squadron, Williams Air Force Base, Arizona, flying the T-38B Tower, which you all have heard around the skies of San Antonio. Just 5 short years later, on May 14, 1993, the unit was relocated to Randolph Air Force Base, where it has remained, to fly pilot instructor training in the T-1A Jayhawk. The T-1 is a modified Beech 400, a small white business jet you may have seen flying around the skies of San Antonio. And we provide training to all the pilots that will go on to be tanker and transport aircraft commanders for the Air Force. In total, during the course of our mission, we've trained over 18,000 pilots. So after 31 years, the mission of the T-1 is ending, and the 99th is going to go back to its fighter roots. In the very near future, you'll be the first unit in the Department of Defense to welcome the T-7 Red Hawk. I encourage you to Google it. It is an impressive airplane. It's a supersonic advanced jet trainer that will be used to replace the aging T-38 fleet. It's incredible, and San Antonio is going to be the first to see it. I do have to say that it's been humbling to get to wear the exact same patch as Captain Buster Hall and General Chappie James, General Charles McGee, General Benjamin O. Davis. And I want to thank all of you for your continued support to their legacy, the legacy of all the Tuskegee Airmen, and the legacy of the 99th. Thank you.
That was just incredible. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel, for those very amazing words. I will take a small point of personal privilege to say that I was able to see the new Red Hawk come off the assembly line in St. Louis at Boeing. It is a beautiful plane, and they are putting the names of the Tuskegee Airmen on the side of them. And so if, I know I've talked to Ms. Willis, and we're excited to help send the information up to our friends at Boeing, but if there are people who you know that were Tuskegee Airmen, please contact my office and I'll be happy to forward it to Boeing and the Department of Defense so that we can get that due diligence underway. We can't wait for, I don't know if it's 2026 or 2027. We know there's been a couple of delays, but we will have Randolph ready for that ceremony, and all of you, I'm sure, will be invited. So next, we're glad to have a representative from the Tuskegee Next Foundation here today. Let's welcome board member Johnny Jackson. Come on up, Johnny.
Thank you, Commissioner Calvert. You know, we're honored to be here on behalf of Tuskegee Next organization, our founder, Steve Davis, the board of directors, and my employer, RSNH. You know, we're pleased to be a participant of this commemoration day, the first for the Tuskegee Airmen. Dreams can become a beautiful thing when they're fueled by proper support and attention. As with the Tuskegee Airmen, Tuskegee Next desired to make, you know, a dream of a career in aviation a reality for our youth. And for several years, we've been doing just that. How do we do it? Tuskegee Next was started in 2015 in Chicago, building on the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen, specifically the Dodo chapter there, to provide a clear path to aviation careers for underrepresented youth. We needed to understand our history, though, in order to chart our destination. And our destination was development of a premier aviation youth program that enables our cadets to obtain their private pilot and drone licenses and start of an aviation career. Key components of the program include the flight training, which is our flagship, the summer aviation program, the life skill training that we offer them, but also career path assistance. Such an effort, though, is accomplished only by having a great array of distinguished donors and partners lending time, their money, their talent, and their money, in order to be successful. And now the question is why? Why do we do it? If we're truly honest with ourselves, none of us got to where we are today by pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps, right? We had support we had a mentor, an advocate, or a financier, or simply exposure, and someone to provide an opportunity. And if I speak personally to myself, that's my story. I'm a civil engineer, an aviation engineer. I had the opportunity to become a pilot, but life happened. But with this career path, I've been able to work on airports all over the world because someone gave me an opportunity and exposed me to this career path. And so therefore, our program understands the value in exposing the future to the past in our Tuskegee Airmen, to which there are a few left, right? But also to our present in persons such as Luke Freeman, or Teresa M. Claiborne, or Lieutenant Colonel Dominique Haig. But in closing, Tuskegee Next has graduated over 70 cadets. We have nearly a 90% graduation rate, and with many now at various levels of their pilot journey. And so I'm pleased today to be able to be joined by members of our 2022 graduating class, Ira Vargas, but also, and with the partnership with the City of San Antonio, the community here, the City, the San Antonio Aviation Department. Last year we graduated our first, San Antonian, and Mariana Lozano. And so it's been great working with Eric. She was the first, but she will not be the last, because we still have a lot of work to do to change, to be the change that we want to see in this world and positively affect the aviation industry. It was mentioned earlier about the pilot shortage, and it's still here, and that's why we exist. And although we can't rewrite the history, we can influence the future, which is very bright, because of the perseverance, courage, and resilience of the Tuskegee Airmen that we stand on. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Johnny. Thank you again for your work. We appreciate you being here. And now we'll just get a little bit of history. House Resolution 249 in the 2023 United States Congress was presented, but not adopted, and expressed support for the designation of March 23rd, 2023 as Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day, and calling on each state and the District of Columbia and each territory to recognize the Tuskegee Airmen for their heroism, valor, and exemplary service to the nation. In addition to the House Resolution, Florida House Bill 1227 and Senate Bill 1313 and Mississippi House Bill 124 were filed this year to designate the fourth Thursday in March as Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day. Eventually, we hope more states will adopt the resolutions so that we will become a nation that observes this day. Now, we're going to invite our airport director, Jesus, will now share some final remarks and read the proclamation that was read last week at City Council. I feel great that every time I'm at the airport, I got a little Jesus, I got a little Jesus in the mix. So come and take us in the resurrection with me.
I try and fill a lot of shoes these days, but that's not one I'm not going to try. I'll just start first and foremost. Thank you all for being here. It is an absolute pleasure, a delight. As you listen to the remarks that were made, it's an enormous amount of sacrifice that people have made in order for us to be able to have the freedom and the liberty that we get to enjoy every single day. And today is about us not forgetting, and ensuring that we continue to do the right thing, not only to memorialize and to commemorate, but to remember those that made the sacrifices in order for us to be where we're at today. So very grateful to each of you. They're holding up their hands and their back, and they're like, you're supposed to be reading something, so get to it, because they know I will talk all day long if you let me about the beauty. But before I get to the reading, this wouldn't be possible without, I'd like for us to give a big round of applause for the San Antonio airport team. They do an incredible job. Everybody says Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It's not Jesus. It's the people that make it happen day in and day out. And I've got to recognize under the leadership of Karen Ellis, you've got Tanya, and you've got Eric, and you've got Aaron, you've got Maya and Matt. If you could give them a big round of applause, I'd really appreciate it. And Audie just started here recently. Where's Audie? I'm sorry, Audie. Audie just started. I always forget her. Sorry. And then, as we announce of what's happening with the Tuskegee Next program, we were envisioning this as we started to do our 2023 through 2028 strategic planning about our reach into the community. How do we, and one of our pillars under our strategic priorities is engagement. How do we get out into the community? Things don't just happen for happenstance. It's purposeful. And the work that they have done, and I want everybody to look over to the flight simulator that they built as children, along with, and Eric Warner gets all the credit for the work that he has done with this, right? A big round of applause for Eric. Most of the time as leaders, it's our job to get the heck out of the way and allow them to do the things that they need to do. I turned around, a year went by, and Karen and Eric tell me, Jesus, we've got 6,000 kids that have already gone through our flight simulator in 1 year, which is, as we talk about pilots, the future, and recognizing the sacrifices that people make, that's what we're trying to do here at San Antonio International Airport, and we couldn't be more proud for everything that's been done. Now, it's my job to do the easy stuff and read the proclamation that was read at council last week. I'll do my best because I'm not a really, really good reader. I like to speak from right in the middle of my chest, but I'll give it its justice. Whereas prior to World War II, African Americans had very limited roles in the defense of our nation, with none in military aviation. When the United States was drawn into World War II, African Americans were aspiring to more meaningful jobs in the military, including flying and maintaining aircraft. And whereas the Axis powers' spread of fascism and military conquest created a greater need for Allied military pilots, public outcry and the black press strongly encouraged the War Department to broaden its opportunity to a larger demographic. And whereas the U.S. War Department's civilian pilot training program authorized colleges and universities to train students to increase the number of civilian pilots and thereby increase the nation's military preparedness. Tuskegee Institute in Alabama was one of 7 black college schools chosen to participate in the CPT. Later, Tuskegee became the sole site for segregated military flying training. And whereas San Antonians, young African Americans, stepped up to help halt the expansion of fascism, 24 San Antonians, including 9 pilots, who signed up for pilot training at Tuskegee from 1943 to 1946, and 15 support personnel who trained in specialized schools in aircraft maintenance, airmen, and communications. And whereas 355 red-tailed combat pilots flew 15,553 sorties on 1,578 missions, destroying, you can tell they're here, destroying 262 enemy aircraft and damaging 148 enemy aircraft in the European theater. 66 were killed in action and 32 were taken as prisoners of war. And whereas March is a special month for the Tuskegee Airmen, it is the month where the first cadets received their wings, when the first maintenance crew began training at Chinook Field, Illinois, when the first combat unit, the 99th Pursuit Squadron, was activated, and the month in 2007 when President George W. Bush presented the Tuskegee Airmen with Congressional Gold Medal. Now therefore, our Mayor, Ron Ehrenberg, Mayor of San Antonio, in recognition thereof, does hereby proclaim March 26, 2024 to be Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day in San Antonio, Texas. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of San Antonio to be affixed this 21st day of March 2024. Thank you so much for everyone for being here today. We have some refreshments in the back. Please be sure to come take a look at the proclamation. We'll take a few pictures, and our speakers will be available for media interviews. A big thanks to all of our men and women who serve this country day in and day out. It is our pleasure and our honor to have you here on our airport. All the best and many blessings to you. Thank you.